Ascent, the new map that's going to be released on the 2nd with the game of Valorant, has been revealed, so we can show you that and break out some information about how this map is specifically different from a lot of the other maps that we've already seen.
I showed that if you put some contrast onto this image, it's very clear that this is of course the layout. However, since that has been put out, we actually have more information about what this map will look like. Here, right here, is a much more defined and clear design of what this map will look like.
And we have a full breakdown of Reyna, her abilities, and her role in any given game going forward. With Valorant full releasing on the 2nd of June, hype is mounting for Valorant in a big way. The map Ascent has been partially revealed, and while we can't show you the full in-map footage, we can make some general statements about the map based on the top-down view that we've got.
So there are 4 map banners in this game, which are codenamed Triad, Bonsai, Duality, and Ascent. We know Triad as Haven, which has 3 bomb sites. It is also the map with temple aesthetics. We know Bonsai as Split. Its map gimmick is the sewer system. This is also the map that some people think that Ascent evolved into. It has kind of an urban Asian aesthetic to it. And finally, we know Duality as Bind, which is the desert map with teleporters. However, the 4th new map, Ascent, has its own banner as well as its own minimap. There's also a danger zone mechanic which is only referenced to this map.
Footage in the Reyna gameplay reveal trailer is actually on this map, so we've actually seen a little bit of this map already. We just don't know the full picture. We don't know what it's like to play it in game.
Of course, this looks like it's actually been made by someone who plays Counter-Strike, but it still denotes what is being shown here. Of course, the reason I say it looks like Counter-Strike, when we look at the demarcations in terms of CT and T versus attackers and defenders, A and D, you can see what I'm talking about. Regardless though, we do have a full map here. This is what Ascent's going to look like. We have seen gameplay, albeit very limited gameplay of this during the Reyna gameplay trailer. I think from looking at this right now, it looks as though the gameplay that we saw looks like we may have been seeing mid gameplay, although it's difficult to tell looking at this graphic. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this. Where was the gameplay taking place from? Honestly, it's difficult for me to visualize this sort of stuff from a bird's eye point of view versus gameplay. That's why I can't give you an exact position on this map.
Now, I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert in map design, but I can point out some general things about the map that can be useful to take note of in advance. So the first thing is, there's no true long sightlines. This means unlike almost every other map in the game, this one has the smallest sightlines possible. This is an extremely close range map in comparison. Now, the second thing to take note of is that the choke points are actually hyper small on this map in comparison to some of the other maps that we played, Split, Haven, Bind. The choke points on this map are extremely tight. Now, why does it matter that there's no long sightlines and that the chokes are really tight? Well, the big takeaway is that abilities are going to be extremely powerful on this map.
There's already been comments about this, what people think of it, so I thought I'd go through all of that right now. Before I do though, what do you think? Before I let you guys get your thoughts potentially or opinions skewed by what others are saying based on new information, of course, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think of this map. Is there anything that should be changed? Is there anything that should be different? Do you have any issues, any reservations? Do you think it's amazing? What do you think?
The thing that you need to understand is when fights become close and there's small choke points, zoning abilities or spam abilities become exponentially stronger. Abilities in general become stronger because abilities work far less when the map is really opened wide, and gunfight plays a bigger role into the engagements.
Is it me or the B site looks like the planting spike training zone with OP writing? I think it is. It has to be it. I've played it a lot of time. The layout is exactly the same. Another user wrote, choke points look small as hell. No long A or B means the fights will be close quarters. Not sure how I feel about this. And of course the OP has said, let's see how it plays out when the game comes out. Another user has written, there seems to be actually a few pretty long angles to scope down, such as from shop to catwalk or well into gelato or bench into books. All of these would require the areas in between to be cleared already, and it may not be practical or useful every time, but I don't think you can reduce the map to just CQC.
And then on top of that, because of the fact that the choke points are small and there's no long sightlines, pushing or split pushing as a team is going to be a huge liability. How many times have you pushed through one section and your team just tried to rush without baiting out any utility? You got slowed, you got paint shelled, and then you just got killed. It's very difficult to push jointly as a team, especially on attack in this map.
Depending on how annoying and deep the corners are to check for attackers, this map might be pretty fun to learn. With another user writing, devs have addressed that. They say they tested big open areas, but they gave too much advantage to some abilities and agents. Camera and recon dart makes sense in my opinion.
I think that it's going to be really important to spread out, bait out a lot of utility here because like we already said, it's going to be very powerful on this map in proportion because the choke points are so small on this map compared to all the other maps in Valorant, and in general, the choke points in Valorant are so small compared to all the choke points in CS.
Someone writing this map is a heckin' chonker, with someone else writing it looks massive. There are so many spots for fights to occur. Really curious where the pre-game barriers will be located. Of course, that will be interesting to see, as we have seen pre-game barriers be switched around already in the beta during the updates.
Now, as far as what characters really benefit off of a map like this, characters that zone off or spam will be even more powerful.
Someone else writing B-site looks like it might be hard to take or retake, with another person writing attackers being able to go straight through mid to CT spawn is pretty nuts. 2 different paths to reach CT spawn without going through a plant zone too. Defenders are going to need to constantly watch both sides of the map. Split has the same thing.
Specifically, the characters already said with their abilities like Raze's paint shells or Sage's slow/barrier. These characters are automatically going to be more powerful, but there's only a true limit to how much we can extract from this top-down layout. We'll get to know more information and break it down more for you when we know the full picture, when the map gets full revealed, probably tomorrow on June 2nd. Now, moving on, we have a full breakdown of Reyna, and we tried to break her down before, but frankly, we got a lot wrong because we didn't know the full picture. We didn't actually know what her abilities were, but now we do, and we can tell you exactly what her playstyle is and what you should be doing if you're playing Reyna from day one.
First things first, Reyna does have healing abilities. Whether or not she can heal teammates is unknown, but she can certainly self-heal. As this Q ability is shown as having a fixed amount of uses and not cooldowns like Sage's, it's our guess that she can cast these on other people, and that how she replenishes her healing resource is through stealing souls.
Her first ability is her blind ability, and this is an ability that doesn't need any sort of charging. It's an ability that you can buy, and what it does is it casts an orb that one-sided blinds enemies in the short vicinity. It has a short sight line, but it does blind enemies when it doesn't blind Reyna herself.
She can also see is her E ability. This too has a fixed amount of uses, but it's hard to tell because I think Reyna uses her ult in this clip, which might affect the casting of her abilities, but we'll get into that later. Let's start off with the first kill onto Cypher. After she secures this, Reyna uses E and absorbs a soul. Doing this has a cast time during which she cannot do anything else like shoot. Actually absorbing the soul doesn't appear to do anything directly, but I think that's because her heal limit is already full at 2.
Now, my first impression of blinding was that it's just overpowered, but the thing is, when it actually is traveling, it doesn't blind anybody. It only blinds people at the apex when the ability is actually going off, and in the meantime, enemies can actually shoot at it and destroy it, so there is a fair bit of counterplay. Now, the cool thing about it is, even if enemies are trying to look to destroy it, you're still messing up their crosshair placement, which means that you could still get value out of it, even if they destroy it.
Because these abilities are linked in the HUD, I think one feeds into the other. So if she wants to heal, she has to secure those orbs from dead bodies. I imagine this works whether she secures the kill herself or not. I could be wrong about that, as in this video, she's the only player left alive on her team, but we'll find that out on Tuesday.
Let's talk about her passive. When she gets a kill on an enemy, and for clarification, she has to be the one to get the final blow on an enemy, an orb will drop that has a tiny meter that will slowly degenerate until the orb disappears. These orbs drop and allow Reyna to quickly use these orbs in order to activate either her Q or her E ability, and she can grab them from pretty far away, but like I said, she has to get the kill on the enemy in order to use these.
Now, after the second kill, her ult, Empress, becomes available. You can actually hear her casting this with the voice line, "They will cower." A few really interesting things happen after that. As soon as she casts this, her abilities don't lose points when cast apart from her flash, and actually one of them is replenished by doing this, which makes me think she can infinitely cast Soul, Absorb, and Heal while her ult is active, as long as there are enough dead bodies to go around.
So the first ability in question is Soul Catcher. And what this is her Q ability, and this allows Reyna to heal. It allows her to regenerate her health by absorbing those soul orbs that are dropped from corpses that she kills, and it can allow her to self-heal, only self-heal. She can't heal anyone else. She can self-heal herself up to 100 HP, or she can go even over-healed all the way up to a max of 150 HP. That includes armor, so she can't go up to 200 HP or anything like that.
You can also clearly see a resource on the bottom left that ticks down over time that has the label Empress. She also gains a very slowly decaying combat stim effect during this time period. I assume it works similar to Brimstone's pack, as in she gets a higher rate of fire, etc. And the stim actually resets when she gets further kills. That is nasty. Enemies from the alt cast onwards are highlighted red, not wall hacks or anything, but you might be able to tell how much health an enemy has by their highlight color while using your alt. That's just a guess, but might be useful in clutch scenarios if that's true.
Now, this is the first glimpse into the playstyle of Reyna. This ability allows her, after a successful trade, to heal up to at least 100 health, and in some cases all the way up to 150 total HP. So after a successful 1v1, you're not at a severe disadvantage when trying to go for another kill. This is the first big takeaway for Reyna. She is a dueler, and if she gets this kill, now she has full health again. So she can essentially take a whole bunch of 1v1s in succession and keep healing herself up so that she's always at full fighting force. She's always taking a straight up 1v1, not at an overwhelming disadvantage. She's not going to be like a fragger that gets a kill but ends up at 30 HP, and then it's really hard for them to win subsequent 1v1s later on down the line.
Another crazy thing is that she can apparently overheal, at least during her ultimate. You can see this next to the ult resource bar, and she can overheal up to an extra 50 HP. So effectively, she can repair her armor, kind of, as long as there are enough of those bodies to draw from. Don't let Reyna get going, that's all I'll say. At one point, she has overheal and combat stim running concurrently, and the healing appears to reset on kill of the last player, Jet, going from 47 extra health straight up to 50 the moment she kills her.
Now, her E ability is actually even more interesting, and it's invulnerability. So when she uses her E ability on an orb, she still needs a soul orb that's dropped, she becomes invulnerable for a short amount of time. And it's pretty short. It showed in the trailer if you want to know the full amount of time, but it's a really short window of time. And this is an incredibly powerful ability. Now, before we jump into exactly why, something that you need to take note of is she's only invulnerable during the cast time. So essentially, all this is going to be doing is allowing her to transition. But remember what we talked about before. When she gets a kill, she drops these soul orbs and she wants to immediately use one of these abilities. So have you ever turned the corner, right? And you killed someone, but there's multiple people there and you get swung on and they trade for you. So essentially you only get one kill for one kill. Well, what this ability specifically allows you to do is get a kill, go invulnerable, and then relocate back behind natural cover or whatever.
Riot said this agent could be spicy. I can now see why. This is a very powerful kit on first glance.
And in that way, you literally secured a kill without the ability for the enemy to trade with you. That is an insane aspect of Reyna and not something to overlook, because you have two forms of versatility in 1v1s. You have the Soul Catcher Q ability that allows you to heal up if you successfully took a straight up 1v1, but you took some damage, you can heal up to max health now. Or you have an invulnerability, so if you aggressively peek multiple enemies but manage to get a kill, you can prevent the enemy from trading out with you because you're invulnerability.
I'm sure it's tempered by having to frag to secure ability points, but my first impression is, hands up who's a Reyna main.
Both of these together give you versatility and options, but the thing that you need to understand is it all relies on you getting the kill. Reyna is a fragger. She needs to be getting these kills or else she's completely useless. Essentially, she's probably the most aggressive character in the entire list. She's an entry fragger, she's an initiator, she wants to go incredibly aggressively, and she needs to either be playing with a pop flasher or acting as the engager pop flasher herself. So Reyna is definitely going to be a pub stomper. She's definitely going to be like the solo carry champion. I'm not quite sure how good she's going to be at the higher levels, but you know, as mechanical skill improves on a Reyna player, it exponentially snowballs because you can essentially keep trading for enemies in ways that is kind of broken. I mean, imagine killing somebody, swinging somebody, going invulnerable, going back behind cover, they push you, you kill them, you heal up, you just can keep taking fight after fight after fight in a way that if you are the best player in the lobby, this is the character that you can play to prove and carry.
The next thing I want to talk about directly is her flash, which appears like a giant Sauron eye on the actual map. She says the voice line, "see nothing," and it does appear that the Jet can't really see her even though she's not right next to it. Perhaps this is a permanent barrier that means you're hard to see through. Perhaps you can destroy it as it does stay on the map as a physical object, unlike Breach and Phoenix's actual flashes. Barrier is the wrong word. A disruption field maybe? More like a one-way smoke? Either way, it could be really powerful. I'm glad that even during her ult, she can't cast infinite of these. That would be way overpowered.
Before we end this, I do have to talk about her ultimate ability, and what her ultimate ability does is it gives her sleight of hand, a temporary increase of fire, which is that stim beacon you saw on the bottom right in the trailer of her. It decreases her reload time, and it speeds up her skill usage. So I know I was kind of redundant there, but the sleight of hand and the decreases reload time is the same thing. Sleight of hand is a much quicker reload time, and the increased rate of fire means that she's just going to have more overall DPS if it's not a semi-auto weapon. So that's actually really interesting. It makes her more lethal. It's going to be even easier for her to win those duels and take multiple duels in a row because of the fast reload time. And the fact that it speeds up her skill usage just means that everything is going to flow even better for her. Everything's going to be even faster for her. All in all, her ultimate basically just plays into her whole kit, but it's all the same as before. You essentially just have to be fragging, and her kit is designed to basically have a chain reaction of kill after kill after kill, or taking these 1v1s in isolation.